Hello again, and welcome to the PM Talk Show. I'm Pat Morris, your host. We're out here on beautiful Miller Lake, and as you know, we're still dealing with the stroke issue, but we're thankful to God that things are getting better, and we want to thank everyone for your prayers and your support during this time of my problems. We're yet in the desegregation case, and a lot is going on. A lot of things are happening now, and we wanted to share some of those things to you. As you know, we're in the portion for the student assignment plan, and that student assignment, is the most difficult part of a desegregation case. Many of you may or may not know that Cleveland, Mississippi just had a federal judge on yesterday to come in and order that their schools become desegregated. And this is after 49 years. What is going on now is that the courts have taken over the schools, and what they're saying is that since you couldn't do it, we're going to do it for you. And this is one of the things that we really did not want to see happen in Tangipahoa Hall Parish, but if it continues at the rate that it's going now, I can see where it will happen. And I just want today to share some of the things that possibly could avoid that happening if the school system decides to go into that direction. As you know, the Moore case is now 51 years old. We have been fighting since the case was won in 1979 to get it settled, but we have not been able, for whatever reason, to get it done. And now we're at an impasse, is what I would think, in deciding whether the system is going to desegregate the schools or whether a federal judge will have to come into the parish and do it for us, which they can do. Now, the U.S. Department of Justice is now involved in the Cleveland case, and I foresee that it could possibly happen here because the schools are not being desegregated. It takes more than a notion to do this, and let me give you some of the things that I'm talking about. When we look at black-white issues in Tangipahoa Parish, I want to tell you that just this year alone, out of about 20,000 students enrolled in the school system, 48% are black. Black students account for about 79% of expulsions and suspensions, as compared to about 19% of the counterparts. Of that number, currently, of the about 197 kids who remain in the Tangipahoa Parish Alternative School due to expulsion from their representative school sites, about 172, which is 87% of them, are black kids. That's just too many. Are you telling me that the kids are so out of touch with reality that you just have to suspend them? You can't do anything with them? We're not accepting that as a reason for doing it. And for that reason, we're looking at getting some answers to some of these questions. When you look at how insane that this is, you know, when you look at things like you have 48 students who scored a 28 or above on the ACT test. Only one is black. Well, we're looking at the numbers too. Are you telling me that out of 20,000 or close to 20,000 kids, only one black student was able to score a 28 or above on the ACT test? We can't, that's totally unacceptable. Even schools that are predominantly white tend to discipline, and this is another thing that we have a problem with, how our kids are disciplined at significantly higher and much more alarming rates than white kids are. Another thing, how do we feel how do we feel that we as a system are ready to come from under court supervision when we are not showing that we are effectively dealing with clear disparities such as these? And ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of them. You would want the court to say that we have reached unitary status, and looking at the disparities that happen with black kids is something that will be addressed in court. One of the things that people need to be told is that once you get into court, you have to prove everything that you say you're going to do. And that's going to be a thing where you go in and everything that you told the judge that you were going to do, you have done that. We're finding that that is not the case now, and we're not satisfied with it. Therefore, as a precursor to what is to come, we're not supporting the student assignment plan in its current form. When you look at a letter that I wrote to the editor, I'm giving the numbers that I just gave, and I'm asking those same questions. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? Do we have to spend another 50 years going around in circles and doing or not doing something that we should have been doing when the case was first filed in the first place? The reality is, we hope we don't. We've been dealing with this situation, this case, when it was reopened in 2005. The NAACP felt that we needed to address the issues because so much wrong was going on, and as a result of it, we felt that we had to get the plaintiff's attorney to come back and get this case reopened so that we could do what needed to be done for all children. One thing that I've done, and that is I sat down and I wrote a letter to Mr. Colway, and I sent it to a few of the board members, but I think I'll go back and send it to all of them coming from the NAACP. And we've asked plaintiff's attorney that they would share this letter with the school board's attorneys as well as the judge, because we feel very strongly about the things that we're saying in the letter. What we're going to do, what I'm going to do is, it's a 3-page letter. I am going to put it out there on Facebook so that everybody will get an opportunity to read the letter and see why it is that we feel the way we do. When you look at what's going to happen with Hammond Eastside and their the programs that they're putting in, we want to see similar programs. And you say, well, you know, Hammond pays money. Hammond pays money, yes they do. But people from outside of Hammond come to Hammond and shop. They shop all over. Even people who have to pay rent. That rent money gets a portion of it that's paid by the tenants, by the landlords, that goes into our schools. So in essence, it's pretty much everybody's money. And if we want to do the right thing, if we want to do the fair thing, we've always advocated, let's sit down and let's talk about this. Let's see what each side can come to. I'm reminded of something that Judge Lamel said at the onset of this ESEG case. We were in court one day and he said, I can tell you now that everybody is not going to get everything they want. You're going to have to learn to give and take. And during that time, when he was making that statement, he was looking at all of us, but he focused his attention on whether or not I say that I was paying attention. And I really was being attentive, because this thing can be a long drawn out process if you have people who want it that way, want it their way. That's something that we never really wanted it to be our way, because first of all, we know that we can't have it our way. We got to give and take. And we were perfectly fine with doing that, but in giving and taking, we need to make sure that the children are getting their fair share of what's supposed to be in them. And I say that because I think of what the media is saying, and I would that if you go to the internet and go to the Cleveland, Mississippi school system and see what happened there and see how the judge said, okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. You can't do it. I'm going to do it for you. Ladies and gentlemen, they have the authority to do that. And for that reason, I want to put the letter out that I'm talking about, and I'll do that this week. Put it out on Facebook so that you can see pretty much what is in store. You can't have a school system where if I continue to hear, well, you know, when this is all over, we still gonna have all black schools and all white schools. That is not going to happen. It is just not going to happen. People are beginning to come forth, and we tell them all the time, you need to come to your board meetings, find out what's going on in the school system, find out how it is affecting or ill affecting your children, because these are the future generations of kids that will be in society to carry society on as we know it, hopefully in a better manner. But what we need to do is come together, come to your board meetings. You have school board members. If there's something that's wrong that you feel like your school should have, you need to say it. There are strength in numbers. It's always been known that there are strength in numbers. And when you come together, just don't sit there, because you have rights. You're paying for it. And your right is to make sure that your children get the best education possible. No one can tell me that my grandchildren are not going to get a quality education. Why? Because I'm going to fight for them. When I look at what happens to a lot of kids that we encounter, both black and white, and they're not getting what they rightly deserve, and that is a constitutional education. It angers, it makes you angry, it makes you feel bad, it makes you want to do something to get the attention that's needed to say, hey, these kids are over here and they need help. If they don't get it, then who's going to give it to them? That's a question that we all need to ask ourselves. These are our babies, ladies and gentlemen, both black and white. I can't have it all my way. The school system can't have it all their way. I can't have a majority white school getting everything they need and a majority black school getting nothing. That is not desegregation. Desegregation means equality. That's the meaning of desegregation, just as it's going on in Cleveland, Mississippi right now. The town is divided by a railroad track. You have the blacks on one side, you have the whites on the other side. You have the white schools that's getting everything, you had the black schools that hardly gets anything. Well, a judge had to step in and straighten it out. That's one of the authorities that a judge has. If the orders of his court or her court is not being followed, they have the right to come in and make it right. The U.S. Department of Justice backs him up or her up on there, and there's nothing you can do. Now, some people will get mad, some people will leave, black and white. That's your choice. But it would be easier if you can come together, and we come together like big grown people are supposed to do, and sit down and talk about what it is we need to do. You talk about a 2020 plan, that what the system is going to look like by the year 2020. I can assure you right now that the plan is not going to work if we don't come together and if we don't do it the way the orders of the court has said it is to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, the judge is not playing. The U.S. Department of Education is not playing. This is about the education of every child in the Tangipahoa Parish school system, or in any other parish where segregation is still existent, and it is existent. I should not have to wonder what's going to happen to my children. I should not have to wonder what's going to happen to my grandchildren. I should not have to wonder if my child is in a program where they have been in honors courses all of their school life, only to have allegedly points shaven from them. And I say allegedly because who I'm speaking of now, I don't have the proof that it did happen, but I do have the proof that it did happen. The attempt was made with my own daughter, who is an attorney now. I do have that proof, and I have reason to believe it is still existent now. Don't do that for your children. Children have a right to a quality education. Children have a right to become whatever they want to become, especially if they're doing the paperwork, if they're doing the work, if parents are supporting them, they have a right to a quality education. Now, for parents, let me tell you this. One of the things I want to ask you to do is to go to the schools. Go and see about your kids. Go and see what's going on. If they tell you something is wrong, make sure that it's wrong, and do what you need to do to go up there. There's nothing that you will get out of fussing and fighting. I'm not advocating for that. But what I am saying is that if your children is in school and something is wrong and they're not getting what they need, then you need to go see about it, because those are your kids. And they are the ones who will take over when you and I are gone. Illnesses come, sickness come, we get tired. All folk get tired. And we move out of the way to let them come in the way to do what needs to be done. You have a lot of people who are leaving the educational field now. And who's going to teach our kids? If we continue with these types of problems, what's going to happen to them? You have a lot of different schools that are beginning to come on board now. What's going to happen to them if we don't have teachers? But one of the things that I want you to know is this. If we don't take care of our kids, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, I can assure you, we'll all regret it one day. So just when you get a chance, by Thursday or Friday, I will have the letter on Facebook. I will have a letter that I've written to the editor giving the same numbers, and I will have that information out so that you can see how serious this is, and it is very serious now. This is Pat Marsh, your host for the PM Talk Show. We want to thank you again for continuing to join us, and we want you to know that knowledge is powerful. Knowledge does matter. Thank you, and have a great week. God bless.